Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Monday Q&A, so let's knock this out. First question. I have a weird discomfort / pain in my forearm flexors way out on the pinky side when dismounting the back squat. I don't feel the weight on my hands nor any pressure during the whole set. Just getting out from under the bar after having unracked it. This is a problem. Have you seen it before and know of a solution? Yeah, man, you're gripping the bar too hard. The whole point of your arms on the squat is to stabilize it. You can put a couple fingers over it and you should be able to stabilize it. It's stabilized on your back. It's your rear delts and your scapula and your traps that hold the bar in place. The purpose of your hands is to just balance it. If you're gripping the bar too hard and you're pulling too hard, sometimes on a squat, it can put strain on your shoulder joints or on your forearms for some people. So you either need to adjust your grip width, or you need to quit gripping the bar so hard if it's starting to become a problem and causing you some nagging pains. It's not necessarily helping you in any way to grip the bar so hard or right where you're doing it if it's causing you pain. So that's your issue. All right, next question. Hey Jason, while doing a high intensity, high frequency program like you do, when working on rows, is it okay to do sets of 10 reps 6 days a week as long as total volume is controlled? What kind of RPE should I work with? All right, man, when we're talking this high frequency training of hitting the same lift 6 days a week, like I recommend, there's not room for a lot of fatigue work. Metabolic fatigue on that will catch up with you quicker than doing heavy explosive power work will, in terms of just not being able to recover from it. So no, I don't recommend that you do any big compound like that, like a row for a major muscle group like the lats that it hits multiple muscle groups. I don't recommend that you do 10 rep sets if you're doing that kind of frequency more than about once a week. Now, if you want to have one high volume metabolic fatigue day every week, come in and do that. But other than that, you need to keep the reps fairly low and explosive and not anywhere near failure. The thing is, when you're doing high frequency training, you shouldn't ever be exceeding RPE 9, and most of your days should be closer to RPE 8, 8.5, or sometimes even less. But you shouldn't be doing anything near failure, and I wouldn't do a bunch of high rep work that way. You need to scale the frequency back to maybe 3 days a week if you're going to do a bunch of high rep work on a big compound. So no, I don't recommend this, just for recovery purposes and adaptation. All right, next question. I am about 26% body fat with lower back inflammation and many other achings throughout my shoulders and elbows. And I have just chosen to enlist in the Army, LOL. If I were to just stick to my push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and running while taking glucosamine supplements daily, could my body feel much better before my ship date in January? All right, brother. You're on a fitness channel, on a lifting channel, on a training channel, and you're talking about not lifting weights when you're about to go into the military. You're overweight. You're 26% body fat. You got health problems. You need to change your game plan, or you need to forget enlisting. You're going to get crushed in boot camp. No, you need to work on that back inflammation and all these things. You need to get on a properly written weight training program. You could run my novice program. You could run my linear hypertrophy program. Run something that involves doing lots of barbell work to balance out all your muscles. Glucosamine, as far as I know, the data is not conclusive showing that it has any benefit, so I wouldn't rely on that. Maybe take some fish oil, add more greens to your diet, get on a better diet. You need to work on your strength training, gaining muscle so that you can recomposition faster, speed up your metabolism faster, and you need to up your cardiovascular capacity. If you can go into boot camp as strong as you can and as cardiovascularly fit as you can, you're going to do a lot better. But if your training and change in diet can't sort out all this inflammation, you're not going to make it through basic. And you're going to need weight training and a change of diet to sort this out. And I mean a proper, well-balanced, well-written program. All right, next question. If I lose body fat and weight, will my natural testosterone levels rise significantly? You know, significantly is a relative term. For some people, 3% is significant. For some people, 20% is significant. If you are obese, and if you think that I'm obese, for example, then you don't know what obese means. If you got a big gut, and you get down to a healthy body fat, yeah, your testosterone levels will probably go up quite a bit. Your estrogen will go down. Your testosterone could go up 10, maybe as much as 20% in some extreme cases. But you're going to have to be obese for that to happen. If you're at a healthy body fat percentage and you lose a significant amount of fat, your testosterone may go down a little bit from the dieting and the cutting and getting too lean. So the idea is to get into a healthy body fat range. So if you're obese, like you're 30% body fat and you trim down, let's say anywhere between the 12 to 18% body fat, yeah, your testosterone will probably go up. Is it going to certainly go up? No, but there's a good chance that it will. And definitely your circulating estrogen will go down a bit. All right, next question. Over on Johnny Candito's channel is a video of Owen Hubbard setting a world record using very little range of motion. Not that this is an easy feat, but is that bad for the sport? Seeing that it does not look impressive at all, should there be a rule change? No, I don't like people doing that stuff either. I don't like sumo deadlifts because they trim down the range of motion and bastardize a lift. I'd like to see sumo deadlifts kicked out of powerlifting. And that's just my personal opinion as someone who is a referee, certified referee who watches this stuff. I'd love to see sumo deadlifts kicked out. I would love to see a minimum bar path requirement on the bench press so that people can't use these ultra wide grips and really excessive arches. But generally the rings, only people who have really narrow shoulders oftentimes are going to be able to get that arch if they're keeping meat legal in terms of using the rings. But there are exceptions. But yeah, I would love to see rule changes to where you have a minimum bar pass set. It's generally the grip width dictates that to some extent by requiring people to not pass the rings as far as their index finger. But again, some people seem to get around that. And I don't know if that's across all federations, as I've noticed I see guys gripping wider in some feds than what my understanding is that most feds allow for, so maybe that's a factor. But yeah, these 5-inch range of motion bench presses, these people with really long arms doing sumo deadlifts and stuff like that, yeah, I think it's disreputable to the sport and I think it's problematic. But that's just my personal opinion. All right, next question. Hi Jason, would it be possible to gain size on a lagging muscle if I were to eat 300 to 400 carbs above my normal carb intake on the day I trained that body part while still being at an overall deficit for the week? So I would still be losing about a pound a week. I'm an intermediate lifter. Well, let me be perfectly honest with you here. If you have a lagging body part and you're training it once a week, that's part of your problem also. You should probably be training a lagging body part 3 days a week. It should be a priority in your training, which is going to really mess up what you're trying to do here. Now, as far as your other thing goes, you're in an overall calorie deficit. So you're not going to be able to make significant gains in muscle mass. Although I will say, maybe what you're doing, if you're going to do an overfeeding day and you overfeed on the day that you put the most volume on a lagging body part and recomposition just a little bit, particularly in the lagging body part, yeah, it's possible you might gain a little bit of muscle mass in that body part while doing that by using a strategy like that. But it's not going to be significant. You're not going to gain anywhere near the amount of muscle mass in that body part that you would gain while in a caloric surplus on a fully structured proper program. But yeah, you might make some gains in it. And if I were cutting and going to do a refeed day every week, like is what it seems like you're doing, and I had a lagging body part I was worried about, that would probably be the strategy I would use, just because although it might not help, it might help, and so you could use any help that you can get at that point. So I wouldn't consider the strategy absurd. It's something I would personally consider myself. Just don't expect it to have dramatic results. All right, next question. When I don't have enough time to complete your 5x5 workout, should I skip 3x8s and only do 5x5 and core work, or should I do the cutting version? If the time on my novice program is excessive for you, you should run the linear hypertrophy program instead. It was written for people who have less time in the gym and they need more efficiency in terms of getting in and out faster to try to get as close to the same hypertrophy results as possible. That is what the program is written for. No, if my program is becoming an issue for you, switch over to the linear hypertrophy program. I mean, you could run the cutting version also, but again, if time is limited for you regularly, run the other program, not that one. That one is for people who have a lot of free time and a lot of energy to focus on this. It's not necessarily for everyone and every lifestyle and every goal. All right, next question and last question of the week. Hi Jason, do you think that normal martial arts are useless for self-defense, such as karate, aikido, taekwondo? No, not at all. Now, you guys know that for me, I focus upon weapons for self-defense. If you watch my tactical channel, I just think that in today's world, you're far more likely to have to deal with someone who has a knife or a gun than someone who is unarmed and untrained. So accordingly, martial arts aren't as useful in a lot of situations as you might expect. I would much rather people focus upon arming themselves and training with weapons. It's going to be a far more efficient use of your time, and it's going to be a far more effective means of self-defense. Now, people will say, what about people in other countries? That's not my concern. I don't worry about the individual laws of other countries. Let's say my tactical channel. I worry about the country where I live. And where I live, we can use deadly force against unarmed people in many situations. So there's the problem with martial arts. And even then, there's no martial arts that I would ever personally, even as someone who has studied quite a bit of it, I would never confront someone who has a knife, unarmed, with any style of martial arts. So again, you're very likely to face an attacker with a knife. Again, in today's world. Now, as far as these three go, no, there's nothing wrong with any of these. They're certainly better than no training. If you study any of these martial arts for 5 years and you're confronted with an untrained attacker who has no weapon, you're going to be at an advantage. So there's no problem there. It's just that you're allocating a lot of resources. Now, out of the three you listed, if I had to pick one for self-defense, I would go with aikido. I think aikido has a lot of potential for protecting yourself on the street compared to some of these other styles. I think it's an overall impressive style and it's interesting. That would be my choice. If I had to pick one of these regular ones, I would go with aikido for self-defense, if nothing else, if I had no other options available. But again, I would tell people, if your goal is self-defense, studying martial arts as your primary focus is not going to be ideal for the overwhelming majority of situations. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.